Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who can't stop thinking about getting back together with his ex. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning.
They cheated on each other multiple times.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Great context. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
That's right. We are not professionals. We are not trained in any of this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We are only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding, but mostly confusing experience that is love.
All right, let's get into today's letter. So today's letter comes from Mariah Curry, which is a great name, whose pronouns are he, him, who is writing from Broken Heart City. I don't know how to get over my ex. He, him, was in a relationship with another man, he, him, for about 4 years. We knew each other and consistently hung out for 2 years prior to then. The beginning, say the first 2 years, were incredible and euphoric. However, cheating crept into our relationship. We both cheated multiple times and at times got into pretty nasty arguments. However, even through that, there were so many more beautiful moments. I remember turning our living room into a fort of blankets and having a Valentine's Day set up inside of it waiting for him when he got home. We hiked a mountain in Maine, and I laid my head on his shoulder as we looked out on one of the most breathtaking scenes. We saw our favorite artist together and cried together as she performed. We got drunk and danced to Motown music in a house designed by his favorite architect. We spent so many nights just relaxing on the couch with wine and just talking about everything and nothing for hours, and then laugh about how long it took us to get through an episode of a show because we just talked so much. We have so many great moments, but the cheating just became something neither of us could take anymore or genuinely/fully get over. He broke up with me, and since the breakup, we haven't been the nicest to each other, which is also hurtful because I don't want to see him sad or upset. I have been going to a therapist, reading, spending time with friends, and I do have some good days, but most days he is still all I can think about. I know he's already seen someone new. I'm writing this a little over a month after our post-breakup, and it hurts so much because a piece of me wants to hold on to the idea that we will grow and develop eventually with time and work and eventually find our ways back to one another. He made me believe in soulmates. I just don't know what else I can be doing to move on and allow myself to get over it. Most days have taken me so much effort and energy just to keep it together, to simply not break. I have a pretty demanding job and I'm usually okay at work, but most days, as soon as I get home, I fall back into this state of sadness. I know that we are broken up for good reasons and that it was not a healthy relationship by any definition. I know that I need to move on for my own emotional and mental health. I'm trying, but sometimes I just feel trapped in this breakup and I want to feel like myself again. If you have any tips, please share.
Oh, my darling. Thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this sweet, sweet letter. This is so relatable. This is so the foundation of so much of our pain and struggling is that we weren't in a good thing, but it had its good moments. And we want to put them in a museum. We want to memorialize the good. Basically, I think because of the human tendency just to want to make things worth it, you know? We want to make these magical, romantic, really good moments matter and mean something. And we want to make the pain have a purpose. You know what I mean? I think that's just such a beautiful human instinct. But it's one that leads us astray so often because it keeps us in these moments of nostalgia or in... it keeps us in unhealthy situations, if that makes sense. We're going to talk about ways we can honor the good while also internalizing the reality. It's like holding the romance and the reality in equal measure, right? And how we can use some of those perspective shifts to move us through a breakup. But first, we're going to take a very quick break.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Especially welcome back to Mariah Curry. again, to echo what Sierra said, I'm so sorry that you had this breakup happen. I'm so sorry that you're still feeling so deeply, profoundly sad about it. And also just to name that makes sense that you're sad about this breakup. It sounds like you two had a very, passionate, you called it a euphoric relationship, right? And also there was a lot of stuff that was not super healthy or
Euphoric.
sustainable for you. Yeah, absolutely. Getting cheated on doesn't, in my experience, doesn't feel very euphoric. So I totally get that. And also so hard to see him moving on, right? To be with someone else. And while you're still kind of sitting there feeling terrible, feeling shitty, right? And that's a really uncomfortable place to be in. I think that this feeling that you're feeling of looking back on your relationship and seeing all of the good times and being like, oh, if only we could have gotten it together. We could have just stayed in all of those good times. If only I hadn't cheated, if only he hadn't cheated, if only we could have figured out how to get over the cheating, to focus on the things that were good. It could have been such a beautiful and lovely relationship. And I want to remind you that your relationship is all of those things, right? The cheating, the inability to figure out how to move forward together were not just like distractions from the relationship that you two had that was otherwise perfect, right? They were built in, they were foundational to the relationship, right? The relationship itself is incomplete, doesn't exist without the problems in the relationship. And I think sometimes when we are really pining over the person that we lost, we kind of lose sight of that, right? We kind of dismiss those really deep problems in the relationship and say, oh, but if those things weren't true, then this would have been a perfect relationship, right? But guess what? There's no world in which those things aren't true. Those things are not just like ancillary to your relationship. They are part of your relationship. And that's why I think it's important when you're looking back to remind yourself, when you're feeling these feelings of like, it was so euphoric, it was so beautiful, we did all these beautiful things together, to say, and also remember that other time when he came home at 5 a.m, and smelled like someone else. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to hold all of those things in relationship with each other, because you can't just like parse them out. You can't just separate them into what was truly authentically your connection and what was like this thing that got in the way, right? Like, those things were braided together. They are inseparable, and approaching it in that way can help remind you, like, yes, absolutely, the pillow fort was a great idea. And also remember when this thing happened, because there needs to be balance in how you're holding the relationship in this particular moment.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. I want to talk to ask you why you cheated.
Sure.
Because I feel like when we're in our heartbreak, we're just, again, we're longing for it to have meant something. We're longing for it to be right. And right now you're really in your pain. And that pain is real. I respect it. I'm so sorry that you're hurting. And I'm also thinking back to like my most recent breakup from one of my most chronically toxic relationships. And you know what gave me the most healing from it? Is really recognizing all the ways. Yeah, Sam gave me it. What gave me the most healing was really recognizing all of the ways in which we were so ill-suited to each other, despite how hard we tried, despite the good times, despite the longing and the desire both of us had to make it work. We wanted to make it work. We loved each other. And also, we were so broken. We were such a sick relationship, like literally ill, like malnourished. And so I want to know, why did you cheat on your partner that you loved? And I don't mean that in like a judgmental way. I have cheated. I have been the cheater. I've been cheated on. I have literally no ill will towards people who do this, because I understand there are multiple paths that lead us to this. But I need you to know why you did it. And I need you to intimately understand the wound or the need or the itch that you were scratching or whatever it was that led you down that path in this quote euphoric good relationship. Because that's something that's knowledge right there. Not only is that knowledge, like, and I don't mean this like I'm coming off really brash, but I'm just trying to be blunt. Like, I don't mean this in a judgmental way at all. Like, I mean this in the most loving, compassionate, fruitful way, because this is not just knowledge, it's power. If you understand your urges and behaviors and missteps in relationships, that's when you can start changing them. And that's when you're going to start cultivating relationships with people that can reciprocate that energy. Do you know what I mean? And I want to know why your partner cheated too. I do. But that understanding is only going to take you so far. So from my perspective as somebody who just has this sheet of paper in front of me that describes your relationship as both incredible and euphoric and romantic and toxic and nasty and cheating on you guys, on each other multiple times, not just once, like cheating on each other specifically multiple times, that sounds like some sort of toxic foundation that was laid that y'all just kept being like, nope, we're not going to deal with this. We're just going to lay another row of cement of bad behavior. Oh, you're going to cheat on me, I'm going to cheat on you, or whatever that is. I want to know why neither of you left. I want to know why you made that behavior, you did that behavior, and then you were both like, no, we're going to stick it out and continue this hurtful pattern. Please don't take any of my bluntness as judgment or shame, because I have been there. I have done that, right? But right now you're in this sort of holding pattern where you're saying, oh God, we were so broken, but like, look at all these good things. I want this to be fixed. It's not going to be fixed. And the way you can truly mend it, is to understand it and learn from it and bring it into the next relationship. So I really want to know, like, I with no judgment, no shame, no nothing. Like, okay, tell me, like, what led you to cheat on this person who you really liked? Mm-hmm. I want to know.
And I think, I want to just like be really explicit with you in this too. You and this person are not soulmates. I think that the idea of you two being soulmates has been a way to, like Sierra said, paper over a lot of toxicity and bad behavior, right? A way to make that toxicity, that cheating, that bad behavior meaningful in some way, instead of what it actually was, which was just toxicity and bad behavior, right? You can look at that and say, well, it's justified because we're soulmates, right? Because we're supposed to be together, because we're supposed to be feeling all of these things about each other. And that's not true. What you were in was a relationship that had really high highs and really low lows, which is a common thing in relationships. It's not like some sort of like the universe bringing you together and making you feel so much because you're supposed to be together. It's a pattern that happens in a lot of relationships where the highs are really high. They're euphoric, as you say, right? They're beautiful. They're drunken Motown dancing. They're pillow forts. They're beautiful hikes in Maine. They're these moments of intense loving, and then these nadirs of cheating and toxicity and name calling and being
what
really.
What the fuck does that word mean?
It's like it's the lowest point.
I have never nadirs. You're saying like nadirs?
NADIR.
Never in my million crunchy outdoorsy camping years have I fucking heard that.
That's because you are outdoors camping and I am inside reading. That's why.
Reading. Yeah, you fucker. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just needed to make fun of Sam for saying the most ridiculous word that none of us knew what it meant.
No, I think what I'm trying to say is that like this is not a unique, beautiful thing between you and this man. This is like a pattern of toxicity that exists in lots of different relationships.
Yes,
and that is not healthy.
Yes.
Like it's like, this is not you two being uniquely touched by the universe to be in each other's lives because you love each other so much. Like, this is a pattern of like codependency and toxicity that exists in lots of different relationships out there. And what I need you to do is to look at that toxicity not as some sort of like romantic destined thing, but I want you to look at it as like with anger. Like, that's what I want. Like, that's the emotion I want you to tap into right now, is like not this like longing, this like, we were destined to be together and isn't it so sad that we aren't. I want you to look at that and say, like, you know, even if you want to look at it and be like, oh, if only, I want you to be like, yeah, this man couldn't get his shit together and he ruined what could have been a good relationship. Like, that's the way that I want you to be thinking about this, because anger allows us to separate from the person in ways that's really hard to when we're in this like, oh my God, I just want them back. Oh my God, I want them back. And what you need right now from this person is physical and psychological and emotional distance from him, because you are just like trying to claw your way closer and closer to him, and he's not getting any closer to you and never will. He is actively choosing to be with someone else in this moment, right? He has decided that your relationship wasn't worth fighting for. He has decided he would rather spend his time and energy and love on someone else. And I'm saying this again, like super explicitly, because I want you to have like I want to shake you a little bit and be like, wake up, this dude is treating you badly, right? Like, this dude is not your soulmate. He is just some dude who cheated on you multiple times and then is now dating someone else, is now choosing to not be with you, because that I want you to be able to put some distance between you and him so that you can actually figure out what the hell is going on with you. How are you feeling about this situation? What do you want in a relationship going forward? What are the things that you need in this moment to be able to heal from the pain that this person has caused you? And it's impossible to do that when you are seeking like the crumbs of connection with this person, and this idea that somehow your pain will stop if the two of you get back together, if you find your way to being in this like beautiful, perfect soulmate relationship that doesn't exist in real life because you already had a relationship that was shitty in real life. You know what I mean? I'm being like so explicit in this, and I feel bad because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I'm also trying to, like I said, trying to just kind of like shake you to be like, this dude is bad for you and he was mean to you and you deserve
When Sam
anger.
was counseling me, sorry.
No, go ahead.
When Sam was counseling me over my last breakup, they said the exact same things to me. They're like, they're choosing not to be with you. They're choosing not to have you be a part of your life. My loving, tender friend. And I was like, ah. But it
was helpful though. Remember, you were like, fuck you. And then you were like, yeah, you were like, actually, that's true.
No,
I need to remember that.
It shook. Yeah, no, this person's choosing. Yeah. And going back to what I was saying earlier about like being curious about why you cheated or why you put up with his cheating either direction. I'm going to have you stop yourself in your tracks if your answer is like, oh, I didn't know how to treat him right, or because I always ruin a good thing, or I did it out of revenge. No. I don't want there to be a good guy or a bad guy or a good person or a villain or a protagonist or whatever in this. I want the deeper answer. Okay. And you might not have like a beautifully scripted answer. Your answer might be like, because I wanted to, because I didn't know how to stop it or whatever, but it's not about being like, cause I'm a bad person. I don't want you to pathologize yourself as good or bad, or as your ex as good as bad. It sounds like Sam wants you to be like, okay, he's bad, because anger does give you like some tools in healing. I think particularly in the introspective that I'm thinking of right now, I want you to understand it, not pathologize it, not, put a character or moral value on it. I just want you to understand it so that you then can take that understanding into the future. But Sam's right. All of these things that we've said, everything that you said in your letter, it all existed in the same relationship. And maybe that's the wrap too. Like maybe that's the shit right there, to be like, yeah, it was really romantic and it was really awful. It had high highs and low navines.
Nadirs.
Adele Nazim. Anyway, and that at anything with high highs and low lows like that is going to make you feel really emotionally confused.
All right. Just a reminder, we love you deeply. We know that we've been like pretty sort of explicit and blunt with you in this particular moment. And we know that this is really difficult, and we see how much you're hurting and how difficult it is to be in the particular situation that you're in. You are worthy of good, sustainable love, and that love is out there for you somewhere. And we just want you to know that you didn't deserve any of this, and that your healing isn't with finding your way back to this person. Your healing is in tending to yourself and what you need at this particular moment in order to be able to move on from this man.
That's right. I hope this helps. We love you so much.
Thank you for writing. All right, everyone, it is Friday, and on Fridays we do our blind date. This is when we try and send you home with something that we think you're really going to like. This week, our blind date is?
It is a documentary that's been out on Netflix for a couple months now or whatever. But I just got Netflix back, so everybody can cheer now. And haven't watched a true crime thing in a hot minute. And honestly, y'all know that we run out of blind dates. This was good. And it had some really profound moments in it in terms of, I actually texted my wife during it and I said, it's crazy what people do for love. And it made me really reflect about like people's brokenness and what they bring to relationships to get those wounds met. Whatever. Anyway, it's called Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter. It's a 2-part true crime documentary about a woman who put a child up for adoption, and then 31 years later, she finds out that her biological daughter has been missing, and it's essentially this woman's journey to advocate for her missing biological child who she didn't raise. And it's really cool to watch this one woman's tenacity. She talks a lot about anger and using anger as a motivator, in a way that I thought was actually really profound. And it's also really amazing that her actions led to the second half of the documentary, which is essentially finding out what happened to her daughter and the interpersonal relationships in her biological child that she gave up for adoption. The people in that child's life and the interpersonal dynamics between them just made me simultaneously like fascinated and sad and reflective, and it was well done. That's on Netflix. It's called Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter.
I love it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content
you won't love it. Okay. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
got it.
You won't love it. It's like very upsetting. But it, just to say that.
Sure. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like access to our monthly office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to our monthly office hours. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcast and his music. And remember, in order to heal from heartbreak, you have to see it and know it for what it is. Put space and distance between that heartbreak and yourself in order to get the right perspective, to look at it from a different angle, to be able to hold it differently, recognizing that the romance existed at the same time as that really painful, hurtful reality, and making sure that we're not just remembering one or the other. And if all else fails,
just break up.